életformák laktak bolygónkon. Egyes életformák megjelenése mai szemmel teljesen fantasztikusnak tűnik, míg mások viszonylag ismerősek lehetnek számunkra. A múlt leghíresebb és leglenyűgözőbb lényei minden bizonnyal a dinoszauruszok voltak. Nagyon hosszú, mintegy 145 millió éven át uralták a Föld bioszféráját, számtalan fajjal és rengetegféle kinézetű lénnyel a bolygón. Körülbelül 66 millió évvel ezelőtt azonban a Föld ismét megváltozott. A bekövetkezett globális katasztrófa geológiai mércével mérve nagyon rövid időn belül szinte minden 25 kg-nál nehezebb élőlényt elpusztított a Földön. A megüresedett helyeket fokozatosan új lények, az emlősök kezdték el betölteni.
Egészen 1 millió évre megközelítettük ezt a 12-13 millió évet. Most ezeknek a nagy része már el van messzesedve, tehát sokkal nehezebb valószínűleg épp olyan DNS-t kinyerni, ami végig is olvasható. Viszont ebben is nagyon sokat fejlődött a technológia, hogy akár kisebb darabokból többször végigolvasva össze lehet állítani. Na most innen érdemes indulni, hogy 1 millió évre visszamenőleg viszont teljesen ismerjük az emberi genomot.
And these first hominins are thinly enameled. They go back to looking more like a Kembo, superficially anyway, and they have relatively thin enamel, relatively more slender jaws again. They were probably soft fruit eaters. And that's probably because in Europe especially at the time, it was a subtropical environment. It was a lush, humid area. There was tropical vegetation with fruiting trees all year long. And so they didn't need the specialized adaptations to allow them, to give them the dietary breadth that Afropithecus had that allowed it to disperse into Europe and Asia. We see for the first time in these apes from Europe adaptations that look like modern ape adaptations for positional behavior, move, posture, and locomotion, which is that instead of walking on the tops of branches with their backbones horizontally oriented, they start to become more vertically oriented and look like apes. Apes have more vertical backbones, and they suspend themselves below the branches as opposed to walking on the tops of branches. And that's what these guys were starting to do. And we know this because we have some good skeletons of apes from Spain and from Hungary. And they all have the hallmarks of a suspensory animal. They all have large hands with elongated fingers that are very strongly curved. Their backbones show signs of being vertically oriented. Their arms are long. They have specialized attributes of the shoulder joints. They have a whole bunch of things, and that's not really controversial to say that they were suspensory. So that happened. So we're becoming more like African apes. And these animals, these apes, thrive in Europe. They're found in abundance, really, in northeastern Spain, in Catalonia. In Hungary, there's a relatively new genus Danuvius that I had the pleasure of being involved in the analysis of, from Germany. And there are other sporadic finds between Spain and Hungary, pretty much until about 10 million years ago, 10 million, let's say 10 million, that's pretty accurate. And then at around 10 million years ago, the climate starts to change. Well, it started to change a few million years earlier, but it finally caught up with the apes, and they started to move south as the forests were giving way to more grassland areas, grasslands like the Asian steppes of today. And the apes, we no longer find them after about 9.5 million years ago in most of Europe. What we're left with is a group of apes that has changed in their jaws and teeth. And they've descended from Western and Central Europe into Southeastern Europe, into the Balkan regions. And we find them mostly in Greece, but there are a couple of, there's one, actually several specimens now from Bulgaria, and then of course the ones from Turkey that are a little bit later in time that we're going to get to. And these guys were adapted to more open country living.
Pathway. So gustatory information is detected by chemoreceptors on taste buds. Taste buds exist on taste papillae in the oral cavity, and gustatory sensation is transmitted through 3 cranial nerves: the facial nerve, cranial nerve 7, the glossopharyngeal nerve, cranial nerve 9, and the vagus nerve, cranial nerve 10. Through these nerves, signals reach the brainstem where they synapse and are relayed to 3 main areas of the brain, and we're going to go through these now in a little bit more detail. So most lingual papillae are on the upper surface of the tongue. However, there are also some papillae hanging out on the soft palate, the upper esophagus, and on the epiglottis. So there are a few different shapes of papillae found on different areas of the tongue, and we're going to go through them now. But keep in mind there's essentially 4 different types of papillae, and these are the valate papillae, the fungiform papillae, the foliate papillae, and the filiform papillae. Pathway. So gustatory information is detected by chemoreceptors on taste buds. Taste buds exist on taste papillae in the oral cavity, and gustatory sensation is transmitted through 3 cranial nerves: the facial nerve, cranial nerve 7, the glossopharyngeal nerve, cranial nerve 9, and the vagus nerve, cranial nerve.
We focus on agriculture, food, and environment. Fondazione Edmund Mack in San Michele all'Adige is a 14-hectare campus for students, teachers, researchers, and technicians. A tradition of excellence that goes back to 1874. We are an education and training center, a research institute, and a center for technology transfer, as well as a prize-winning winery. But we have one common goal: to promote sustainable agriculture, improve food quality, and protect our ecosystems. Fondazione Edmund Mack links various levels of higher education in a single system, unique in Italy and perhaps in the world. Research is pursued in state-of-the-art laboratories and greenhouses. Our results are fed into technological transfer, know-how, experimentation, and consultancy services for thousands of provincial farms and farmers. At the heart of our Fondazione is the farm, symbol of deep-rooted local traditions in fruit and vine growing and winemaking. Not only a commercial business, but a lab and a classroom for students, a laboratory for researchers. Innovation and education, united as always throughout our history. We are a world apart, with a rich fabric of people and ideas, both dynamic and rooted to the local economy.